Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for watching. I'm Russ LeBlanc, your personal NEC consultant and code expert. In this video, I'm going to be discussing GFCI protection of appliances, and we're going to be focusing on two sections in the code, 210.8D and 422.5 in both the 2023 code and the 2026, and we're going to see what's changing, what's proposed for 2026. So let's take a look in 2023, starting with 210.8D. And there it says, GFCI protection shall be provided for either the branch circuit or the outlet supplying the following appliances, rated 150 volts or less to ground and 60 amps or less, single phase or three phase. Now I have to pause there for a second and explain a little bit here. If you read that carefully, there's no mention of the branch circuit voltage. It only talks about the rating of the appliance. I think that might have been a mistake. For example, a 240 volt appliance, is that included or is it excluded? I would say it's excluded. Its voltage is 240. Well, that's above 150, right? Now, the branch circuit that appliance is on, that 240 volt appliance, might be operating at 120 volts to ground. But this section makes no mention of the branch circuit. So, some people might debate that. Well, should that be included or excluded? I say it's excluded because there's no mention of the branch circuit voltage. Only the appliance voltage and amperage is specified, not the branch circuit voltage. So that might need to be fixed. In my interpretation, that's a mistake, and some appliances unintentionally are excluded with that present wording. Okay, let's take a look at the items or the appliances that are required to have this GFCI protection. Automotive vacuum machines is the first item. Drinking water coolers and bottle fill stations. High pressure spray washing machines. Tire inflation machines. Vending machines. Sump pumps. Dishwashers. Electric ranges. Now, number 8 says electric ranges. Number 9 says wall-mounted ovens. So is that electric wall-mounted ovens, or could it be a gas oven with an electronic igniter, for example? And my interpretation is it's both, because it doesn't specify electric or otherwise, so it's all wall-mounted ovens. Same thing for number 10. You could have an electric cooking unit, counter-mounted cooking unit, or you could have a gas counter-mounted cooking unit with an electronic ignition. And in my interpretation, both would need GFCI protection because it doesn't specify one or the other. I'm thinking it's all of them, all types of counter-mounted cooking units. Gas, electric, or induction, doesn't matter. Clothes dryers, same thing. Is it an electric clothes dryer only, or does it include gas clothes dryers as well? Well, I say it includes both because it doesn't specify electric clothes dryers. Maybe that's a mistake. I think it's going to be revised for 2026. What else? Microwave ovens. So there are 12 items, 12 appliances specified in 210.8D in 2023. Now let's take a look at another set of GFCI protection requirements in 2023. This is 422.5. Now, in this section, there are only 7 appliances specified. So in 210.8D, there are 12 appliances, and in 422.5, there's only 7. So that's kind of unusual, right? Why wouldn't the list be the same? Well, it's not the same, unfortunately, and so that can cause confusion. Here it says the appliances identified in 422.5A 1 through 7, 150 volts or less to ground and 60 amps or less, single phase or three phase, shall be provided with Class A protection for personnel. And again, no mention of the branch circuit voltage, only the appliance voltages and amperage. That's all that matters. The branch circuit voltage apparently is irrelevant. I don't think that's intentional, but that's what the literal wording says, so that's what I'm going to base my interpretation on. It also says that multiple Class A devices are permitted but are not required, so you could have a GFCI breaker and a GFCI receptacle and a GFCI built into the cord or the attachment plug of the appliance if you wanted to. Not required, but it's also not prohibited. It's absolutely fine. Okay, let's take a look at the list of appliances. Automotive vacuum machines, drinking water coolers, and bottle fill stations. Now here, the high pressure spray washing machines have to be cord and plug connected. In 210.8d, it didn't matter if it was cord and plug connected or hardwired. Here, they have to be cord and plug connected to trigger the GFCI protection requirement. Tire inflation machines, vending machines, sump pumps, and lastly, dishwashers. And keep in mind, this is any occupancy. Any occupancy, sump pumps, dishwashers, any occupancy. All of those items, any occupancy, these would need GFCI protection. Now let's see what's proposed for 2026. We'll start in 210.8d. Some nice revisions, I think, are going to streamline things. All right, take a look at this. GFCI protection shall be provided for the branch circuit or outlet supplying the appliances identified in 422.5. And I love this. There's no more 12-item list here. They're just going to defer everything to 422.5. I love that. That streamlines things and makes it less confusing. So we're just going to look in 422.5 for the requirements. Now, I do want to point out, though, this requirement here still does require GFCI protection for either the whole branch circuit or the outlet. So it's not just for the appliance. It's the whole branch circuit or the outlet for the appliance needs GFCI protection according to this requirement. Okay, so that's pretty significant. Now let's take a look at 422.5 requirements. And there's a bunch of revisions there that are going to clarify which appliances and which voltages and which amperages are included in these requirements. I think these are really good changes. All right, here's what's proposed for 2026. GFCI protection shall be provided in accordance with A through D. And again, multiple GFCI devices are permitted, but not required if you want to, or if you need to, whatever. It doesn't matter, it's fine. Okay, first, we have some really good clarity with these revisions. I think they did an excellent job of making these revisions to clarify which voltages, which amperages. Are we talking about the branch circuit voltage or the appliance voltage or both? What is it? So these are the conditions. The appliances indicated in 422.5b shall be GFCI protected if supplied by branch circuits that meet all the following conditions. So now we do care about the branch circuit ratings. Nice. The last code was a little unclear. Is it the branch circuit and the appliance or just the appliance rating? Here, it's just the branch circuit rating. Okay, first, the branch circuit has to exceed the low voltage contact limit as defined in Article 100. Generally speaking, that's going to be 15 volts AC and 30 volts DC. There's a little more to it than that, but just to summarize how it's defined in Article 100. And to give you an idea, these are low voltage appliances, right? Low voltage appliances would not need GFCI protection. And the branch circuit does not exceed 150 volts to ground. So, for example, a 277 volt circuit, that appliance would not need GFCI protection. Or a three-phase 480, that's going to operate at 277 volts to ground, that would not need GFCI protection. And then the last thing is the amperage does not exceed 60 amps single phase or 100 amps three phase. So that's a big addition, the 100 amps three phase. Last code didn't include 100 amps at all. It stopped at 60 amps. Now it goes up to 100 amps three phase. So that's pretty significant. And then we have a list of appliances in B that we're going to look at. So really good changes here, clarifying exactly which voltages and amperages and whether it's the branch circuit voltage and amperage or the appliance voltage and amperage that we care about. Now it's the branch circuit voltage that we pay attention to and the branch circuit amperage that we pay attention to. Now, which appliances for 2026 need GFCI protection as specified in 422.5? Automotive vacuum machines, no change there. Drinking water coolers and bottle fill stations, no change there. High pressure spray washing machines, All right, so it doesn't matter if it's cord and plug connected. All right. Tire inflation machines, vending machines, sump pumps, and dishwashers. Now, again, keep in mind, this is any occupancy, and it doesn't matter if it's hardwired or cord and plug connected. Either way, these appliances, if they're the right voltage and amperage branch circuit, they need GFCI protection. So now let's take a look at the appliances themselves. All right, here's an automotive vacuum machine. That's going to need GFCI protection if it's the right voltage and amperage. Drinking water coolers and bottle fill stations. Again, if they're the right voltage and amperage branch circuits, you're going to need GFCI protection for all these things. High pressure spray washer machines. You're going to need GFCI protection. Now here's another one, but this is three-phase now. This one, this type, this voltage and amperage is three-phase, 208 volts, 100 amps. This one, or this type, this voltage, this amperage, this type would need GFCI protection. But this one, this higher voltage, this is three-phase, 480. This is not within the limits of the voltage we established, right, which is not more than 150 volts to ground. This one certainly would be. It's 480 volts three-phase. This is going to operate at 277 volts to ground, so it's excluded. Does not need GFCI protection. And we can say the same thing about every appliance, right? If the voltage is too high, if the amperage is too high, not included in the GFCI protection requirements here. Tire inflation machines are included. Vending machines are included. Sump pumps are included, and this is any occupancy. Now, when it comes to sump pumps, I know I've heard many times students and attendees at my seminar say, well, I am very concerned about a nuisance trip, quote unquote, a nuisance trip of a sump pump. I don't like the idea of the sump pump being GFCI protected because if a nuisance trips, then the basement's going to flood. And I'm thinking, well, okay, you can monitor the power though, right? There are ways to monitor the power. And I'm thinking a nuisance trip is better than somebody dying, right? If it didn't nuisance trip, let's just say you ripped out the GFCI breaker and you put in a non-GFCI breaker. Now there's no GFCI protection. If water infiltrates that motor, this is what happened at my house. My sump pump did this, right? But I had a GFCI. The sump pump, the seal on the sump pump leaked. Water got inside the sump pump and immediately started tripping the GFCI. And it would not hold. It just trip immediately. Thank goodness that it tripped, right? Because if the basement flooded, right? If I went down there, if it was not GFCI protected, it wouldn't have tripped. And the pump still failed. Either way, the pump was no good. So if the pump fails because water infiltrates the seal or the gasket, now you might have energized water. If you step in that energized water, you could get seriously injured or even killed, and it has happened, unfortunately. So I always, tell my students and attendees, if you don't like GFCI protection, just think of what might happen if you take out GFCI protection. I'm still thinking a flooded basement is way better than a death or an injury. I would think that most people would agree with that. So if you are concerned with a nuisance trip, however, there are ways you can mitigate the problem. For example, they have battery-powered sump pumps, right? So there's still a branch circuit involved, all right? But if the GFCI for this branch circuit trips, well, the sump pump has battery backup. So the sump pump is still going to work, at least for a little while, until the battery is completely drained. But it's not going to stop working immediately just because the GFCI tripped, for example. Another thing to consider is this is the type of receptacle I have in my basement. It's an audible alarm GFCI. If the GFCI trips, it screams at me. It starts yelling, I tripped. It just has a buzzer or some type of alert, if you will, a high-pitched buzzer when it trips. And you can hear it. It's very loud. It's a piercing sound, and it gets your attention. They have Wi-Fi type receptacles that could probably send you a text or an email if the power goes out. So there are ways you can monitor the power if you are concerned with a quote-unquote nuisance trip of a GFCI. So I don't buy that argument. There are ways you can deal with a potential trip that you're claiming is a nuisance. And in my mind, I'm thinking the GFCI is doing what it's supposed to do. It could be a problem that the basement floods if the sump pump doesn't work, but again, you can monitor the power to that. So I would rather do that than rip out a GFCI breaker. So that's just me. I'm hoping you feel the same way about that. You don't want to leave your customer with no GFCI protection when they really need it, like stepping into a flooded basement, for example. All right, let's continue with the list of items that need GFCI protection. Dishwashers, right? So this is a dishwasher in a house, but this also includes commercial dishwashers like you might find in a kitchen or a restaurant or a cafeteria, for example. These would all need GFCI protection. Now let's take a look at the requirements for where and what type of GFCI protection is required. If we look in 2023, in 422.5, it says the GFCI has to be readily accessible, listed, and located in one or more of the following locations: within the branch circuit overcurrent device, some other device or outlet within the supply circuit, like a receptacle or a faceless type GFCI, or it can be an integral part of the attachment plug, or it can be in the power supply cord, but not more than 12 inches from the attachment plug. It could be some other way factory installed within the appliance, so it's built into the appliance. Any one of these, or even more than one, is fine. You don't need any more than one type. One is all you need. And any one of those 5 options is fine. And very little change for 2026, just some minor editorial revisions. All right, and so there's the wording for 2026. It's virtually the same, just some minor editorial stuff there. Okay, now there's something else I want to point out for 2026, some new wording, brand new types of GFCI devices that might not be available yet, but they hopefully will be soon. 422.5c, high frequency HF GFCI protection. This is what it says. This is what's proposed for 2026. If GFCI protection is provided for the following appliances, the GFCI shall be identified as a high frequency, an HF type of GFCI, refrigerators and HVAC appliances. Now, this requirement is not in effect yet. It's not going to be in effect in 2026. It won't be in effect until at the earliest January 1st, 2029. And why is that? Why is there a delay? Why not January 1st, 2026? Well, because the product standards need to be revised to address these HF appliances and these HF GFCI protective devices, right? And it's because refrigerators and HVAC equipment tend to use equipment that might include variable frequency drives, right? And these create these high frequencies, if you will, that can mess with the traditional type GFCI. So manufacturers have figured out a way to build in protective measures or sensors in the GFCI devices to deal with these high frequencies that this type of equipment can generate. So look for these new products soon on the market. You're probably not going to see them for a while, but it's coming, right? HF and HF Plus is another type of these high-frequency GFCIs that we're very likely to see in the near future. Okay, so let's do a quick review of where GFCI protection is not going to be required for 2026. Electric ranges will not need GFCI protection, generally speaking. Wall-mounted ovens, counter-mounted cooking units, clothes dryers, and microwave ovens. That's nice, right? So these 5 appliances are not going to be included specifically in the requirements in 422.5. They will not need GFCI protection for the appliances. Now, that being said, you might be excited about that, but I'm going to dampen your excitement a little bit, unfortunately. And that's because many of these items might be cord and plug connected. And there are still requirements for receptacles to have GFCI protection. And to see those requirements, we would look in 210.8 and 210.b for GFCI protection of receptacles. For example, in kitchens, laundry areas, and other areas near sinks, many of these items are going to exist in those areas. So if they are cord and plug connected, there's a good chance that you will still need GFCI protection for many of these appliances. However, if you can hardwire these appliances, then you can omit GFCI protection, and that could be helpful, certainly, because I know a lot of these are prone to tripping GFCIs, especially the cooking units, right? Those elements that they use there are prone to absorbing moisture and causing GFCI breakers and GFCI receptacles to trip. They're just really not compatible with those devices. So hopefully that could help with the nuisance tripping. Anyways, we'll see what happens. Hopefully this doesn't change at the last minute, but this is what's proposed for 2026. And I know a lot of people are going to like less GFCIs, right? Please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. This will allow me to keep producing videos like this and even more videos in the future. And as always, please visit my website, russellblank.net, for more information, including more videos and podcast information and a whole bunch of free stuff, right? Everybody likes free stuff, so check that out. I'll see you in the next video.